Hello, thank you for joining us today on the Profit Scale Thrive podcast, where we guide attorneys to overflowing profits, scaled growth, and thriving lives. I am your host, Kelly Brubaker. We have a secret though. This is a special place because we don't work with every law firm owner. We support the solo attorneys who are also single parents because we know the special challenges you face, and we know the business advice out there is not always practical for you and your firm. Each week, we will talk about things that will give you the insight you need to stop feeling overwhelmed, to gain back your confidence, and to finally enjoy your law firm and your life again. Welcome back to episode number 23. Last week, we were talking about how to take one piece of content and share it, repurpose it at least 20 different ways so you can get good mileage. Okay, you invest the time to create one blog post or one YouTube video or one podcast episode. So one core piece of content, and then you can repurpose it to all these different ways. But then I started thinking, I want to be able to take that to the next step and share my strategy of how I come up with what I share when I share it. So today, let's talk about how do you create a strategy for what you post. So not necessarily the ideas of what to post, but the idea, the pattern. So I look at it as a formula, and I have certain days that I post certain things that all support back to my podcast, because my podcast is my core content that I post for my audience. So think about this. So this is a whiteboard for those of you who are not watching me on YouTube. If you're listening to me on a podcast app or you're reading the text, I'm standing in front of my whiteboard. This is not sophisticated, right? So the idea is just to come up with a strategy on what to post just to get your word out to the world. And the whole point is to be able to reach people who are your target audience so that they get to know you, like you, and trust you, because those are the people who will come and buy from you. Okay. So I sometimes will use a whiteboard. That's why I've got my big whiteboard. But I personally like to use ClickUp, but that's just because that's my task management system for my life. So for working home and everything that I've got going on in between, everything of mine goes into ClickUp. So you can use your task management system. You can use a pen and paper. You can use a Google Doc or a Word document or a Google Sheet or Excel file, whatever works for you. But I started thinking about last week after I talked about taking one piece of content and converting it into 20 pieces of different content that you can share throughout the next year. I thought, I probably should go the next step and say, let's talk about strategy on where to post, or not where, but when. Like come up with a formula. Everything's a formula these days, right? It's because it makes it easy. Now when you have a formula, you know what you're going to do, when you're going to do it, and it just happens. It makes it easier. So I use ClickUp, and that's where I come up with all my list of ideas. Just because something hits the list does not mean it's going to make it into a piece of content, because I may have second thoughts, cross it off. Something may be at the bottom that gets raised for whatever reason, whether it's something hits the headlines in the news, I don't know. But content ideas are great because you could go in and you could say, Tim, this is your idea, it's due this day. Sally, this is your idea, it's due this day. Jessica, this is yours. If you have people on staff that you can delegate out content to, this is a good, you have your list and you guys can come up with, because look how, if you have your list, you can start prioritizing things and you could map out the next like 4 to 6 weeks of content. And again, one piece of content can go you get tons of mileage out of it. So one piece of content might be published on this, on this date, whatever date you pick. But in that week, you're probably going to heavily promote it. And then it's going to pop up in the future months. So you might promote it 3 times this week if it's published this week. And then in the next 6 months, it might pop on different social medias in, twice a month on different social media stuff. Okay. So you've got to be able to have a way to capture your ideas for your content and prioritize and assign with due dates. And then once you have that, so this is my game plan. It does not have to be your game plan, but everything for me starts with my podcast. So right now I'm recording this in video, but the video will be posted to YouTube, the audio will be posted to podcast apps, and the transcript text will be posted to my blog and then repurposed from there. Okay. So my podcast, one piece, right, goes out to blog, audio for the podcast app, and then YouTube for video. I can't guarantee anybody is going to purposely go to my blog, listen to my podcast app, or visit me on YouTube, but I do have an email list of people who have raised their hand and said, "Ooh, I'm interested in what you have to say." So so as soon as I get the podcast and it gets posted to all these places, an email goes out to people interested in hearing from me, and it gives them the link to those 3 places. So whatever their preference is, they can read it, listen to it, or watch. Okay. So now that I know that this is the core of what I'm going to do each week, and again, that's just my preference. My preference is to post everything on Wednesdays in full. So everything gets dropped on Wednesdays. And then now I want teasers. So teaser clips get posted on all the socials. So Facebook Reels, YouTube Shorts, LinkedIn, Google My Business. So between posts and short videos, TikTok, teasers that include the link to, because by the time this is ready, it's already hosted. The video is already hosted on YouTube. The link is just not published, available yet. Or I'm sorry, the link is available to me as the creator, but the video is not available for viewing by the public yet. I give it a release time. So teaser clip just to get people interested, and then I give them the link over to the YouTube so that they can click a button that YouTube will notify them when that becomes available. So all of the teaser stuff drives people back to YouTube. And then on Thursdays, we have announcement posts to all the same different social media channels that give the full link back to YouTube. And there's no rhyme or reason to YouTube, but I liked the idea that I could send people to YouTube. They could then discover my other videos. I also have the ability to post my email, phone number, website on YouTube on each video. I'm sure that there's some expert that's going to tell me that's wrong and I should send them somewhere else. I'll deal with the criticism, but this is what I know works for me right now. Okay. And I should say that what I'm doing now is probably my 3rd or 4th iteration of a strategy. So I followed a couple of gurus. I actually followed one. I was all in. It did nothing. No change to my social following at all. Dropped that, went to somebody different. It was better, but I still felt like I could do even better. So I'm on this iteration now of this strategy. This is why I'm saying this is my strategy. It may or may not work for you. Okay. But so do you see how I did one piece of content, like just to bring in from last week's podcast, one piece of content, it went to different, I've already now had 4 uses of that. It gets posted on Wednesdays. I now have, from the podcast, I have little videos that get clipped out and posted on Tuesdays and Thursdays to direct people to the full content. And in addition to this, I am doing daily inspiration quotes. So I know that's a segment of my podcast, but quotes really speak to me. So, so I have daily quotes that get posted every day. So one quote on a nice, pretty background. Thank you, Rochelle. She does that. She's amazing. But that gets queued up every day. Okay. And don't think that just because this stuff gets posted every day that I'm on these socials every day. I actually don't do it. Rochelle does it for me. But we use tools. So we have Missing Letter and Buffer. And the reason why we use two is because Missing Letter is great at text and images, but not video. And I had a lifetime deal. So for $50 one-time payment, Missing Letter, amazing. Whereas Buffer, you can connect up to 3 socials for free. And then after that, it started costing money. So we do the free version of Buffer just for the video posting. So Facebook Reels, YouTube, Shorts, TikTok. And those are something that you can queue up. You can sit down on a Friday morning and queue up the next week or the next 2 weeks of content. And you tell it on this day at this time, post this thing. So this is not logging into all socials every day to get these posted. So this is my current strategy right now for posting content, one piece of content. I will say that because of Missing Letter, these teaser clips, these announcement posts, and there will be a post that goes out to announce that full clips are ready. Missing Letter repeats those over the next 6 months. So that's where I start to get mileage, where I did this one piece, and although we kind of heavily promote something this week, these same things are going to go out again on all the socials. So my email list doesn't get it multiple times, and it does not go to my blog multiple times. I don't repost the podcast or the YouTube video, but I'm pointing people through different posts throughout the next 6 months. I am posting people back to these original places for content. And all of these places have my contact info. And the whole point of all of this is to get people to know me, like me, and trust me. Because that's when people are more willing to buy from me. I want people that want to work with me. I want to work with people that want to work with me. Okay. So this is the way that people can get to know me. And I'll be honest, I am a very much classic introvert. I am very happy spending time by myself at home with my dog and 2 cats. So this used to scare the hell out of me. To record my voice was a big deal. To record audio, holy crap. Video, I mean. But I have accepted that people get to know me. So here's the overriding thing. I hate sales calls. I actually did a whole podcast. I was the guest on a podcast, the Grow My Accounting Practice. Because the whole thing is, and the whole thing we talked about is how much I hate sales. I hate being sold to and doing the selling. I hate both sides of it. I hate it. But I have shifted my mindset to, I now have curiosity calls, because when I jump on the phone with somebody, I now want to learn about them and they want to learn about me. I'm not selling anything. I don't have sales calls. Okay. But what makes my curiosity calls even easier these days is this stuff. So as much as you may hate the idea of posting a blog or social media posts or a podcast or YouTube videos, this is how your target audience gets to know you. And then they like you. And then when they need you, they hire you. It will be a faster sales process if they already know you, like you, and trust you. And this is the way. Okay. But having a plan makes this easier. Now, I will tell you, now that I started my podcast, so this iteration of my strategy started in, I don't know, February or March of 23. My followings have increased across the board. I am probably to a point where I can stop certain social medias, just because, like Google My Business, I'm posting and there's nobody there. Like nobody's listening, so we can probably just turn it off. But, I am not creating content to be a content creator. That's amazing for the people that do that. I mean, Mr. Beast, love you, but that's not my goal. My goal is just to build my practice. Okay. And so for me, I mean, I was excited. I had a 30-second video that I posted on YouTube. In my mind, went viral. Thousands of people watched it. And I'm used to getting hundreds of people following my stuff. So when thousands of people watched it, I mean, I almost had a tear in my eye. I have no goal of becoming some viral sensation. But I want to get in front of people who are my target audience, who will resonate with my stuff, who want to work with me so that I can grow my firm. That's what I'm doing this for. Because I really don't want to, like, I am not all that comfortable being in front of a camera or on video or on audio, but I know that's the way. I would rather do all this behind a camera than to do it in person live. But I will do live speaking. I have done it. It's torture for me, but I do it. Okay. And I like it this way because I can cut what I need to. So this is my current game plan. Now that I'm getting comfortable, so I'm recording this and it's August of 23. So now that I've been doing this for about 6 months, I'm starting to see traction. Okay. So it's working. I'm getting more interest. I am looking at adding, and I think it'll be on Mondays. It might be on Fridays, an inspirational story. Because I feel like Motivation Monday works, but I kind of feel like it's overworked, overused. But I have been starting to collect. I have a whole nother list. So besides content ideas, I have a whole nother list in my ClickUp that I've been saving inspirational stories, short stories. And so now I have to go back through them and say, well, how short is short? You know, are these really short? Something that gets to the point. But I want to be able to start adding more stuff to here. But like I said, so we use Missing Letter, and although we're heavily promoting one piece of content Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday each week, everything that's here that you see here gets repeated randomly in the next 6 months, pointing all back to this one podcast. That's how I get the mileage out of this, is that I created one piece of content. I did my this week strategy, and then this multiplies because it's now going to repeat over the next 6 months. And there's no magic in 6 months. Just that's what I felt comfortable with, that 6 months seemed to have whatever I'm creating as content would still be relevant in 6 months. So I still want to be able to promote those things. But see how if I do this, if I'm doing this every week, I'm starting to build up multiple posts, because now I've got these two posts plus this main content. This gets repeated over the next 6 months, at least twice a month for the next 6 months. So, and then I have my daily inspirational quotes. But, you know, if I were, say, a bar owner, sports bar, I don't know, and I want to get people in, I probably wouldn't have picked Wednesday morning of that. I would have a different strategy. I would do, you know, I'd probably Thursday tease that, hey, is it Friday yet? And then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, those are my key days, right? And I'm not posting at 5 a.m. because if my bar people are coming at, you know, say until 2 a.m., they're not up at 5 a.m. If they are, God bless them. So I would have a whole different strategy. So which that right there, that disconnect is exactly why I don't listen to what all the experts are saying, because I think that they just studied the internet in general. That you need to start breaking it down by industry. Think about your ideal clients. Who are they? Where are they on the internet? What times and days would they be on the internet that they would potentially see your stuff? The overriding problem though with social media is I don't know how many more days Twitter has left in the world. So everybody that's been high content creators on Twitter, sorry, but you're going to lose all your stuff. I just don't see that lasting. But there's no guarantee that any of this is going to stick around. Facebook could be next, or YouTube, which is why I'm trying to post on different platforms. Now it's time for our listeners' question of the week. And this one's actually more of a criticism / comment. than it is a question. But when I saw it, I thought, oh, you know what? I must not have done a good enough job on this podcast that I I thought I said this, but maybe I didn't. So here, and it came from a Yahoo account, so I don't really know this person's name, but I'm sure if you sent it in, you know who you are. It says, I just got done listening to the How to Fix the Top 5 Challenges Law Firms Face episode. And I agree with the challenges that you listed because those are my major pain points in my firm. But I take issue with the fact that every single solution you offered was it's either going to cost me time or money. So here's the thing, this is the secret. Once you became a firm owner, you are now a business owner first and then practicing law second. And I don't know if the issue from this person is time or money. I suspect that it's probably both. And you need to get to a point in your firm where you need to decide what your goal is. Do you want a lifestyle firm? Or do you want $1 million practice, a $2 million practice, 5 or 10? Okay. You have to decide where you want. And then you will get to a point where you will need to decide how to tackle these problems in your firm. Do you want to stop doing client work long enough that it takes to fix the problems in your firm personally? And personally, this I've done this approach for, I don't know, the last 5 years, maybe even a little bit longer. And it's burned me out. And so it took me about a year ago where I started hiring help. And it was a big relief off my shoulders to be able to say, because sometimes it wasn't that I didn't have time, but maybe I needed a skill set that I didn't have to fix something in my firm, and I just don't have it. I mean, I'm pretty good at a lot of different things, but doing things half-ass aren't isn't going to help me. Okay, so sometimes you need to hire the person who is the expert to get things done, or sometimes you just need to hire somebody who's good to be able to more like a handyman to be able to get a whole bunch of little things done for you. Both of those approaches have their pros and cons. Now, I do realize that you will want to you will hire different people for different things depending on what they are. So someone goes without saying, no matter who you hire, you have to trust. Okay, but do you want somebody to have access to your inbox to help you clean out your inbox every day? Okay, that is going to be somebody that you really need to trust, okay, to be able to have access to sensitive information. So I get that part, but I know where I live, and I live in a podunk little town in Northeast Ohio. I'm halfway between Cleveland and Akron, and I would have to imagine it's a very normal American town, and that there's towns and there's places like this all over where there are families where one parent chooses to stay home for whatever reason. I know in my school district, and I only know this because this was my intent. I actually had the lifestyle firm for the longest time because I wanted to be, as available as possible to help with my kids' stuff at school. And I was PTA president and kind of now shifting into band parent. I don't know, but I've always been around to be with my kids at school or after school or taking them to school if they need to. But I know, at least in my district, it's not even always moms. So it could be dads. I do know that there are dads in my district that stay at home with the kids. But there are people around you, you just don't personally know them, or you may know them and they just don't publicly share their situation. But I've talked to many moms and dads who are stay at home to support the family, who are like, God, it'd be great if I could just find something, like, not even for the money, but just to get out of the house, something to stimulate my brain. I was blah, blah, blah. I was a paralegal before I became a mom. I was a lawyer. I was an accountant. I was an IT support person. I was whatever. So they have real world working experience, kind of miss being out of the game. And it would be nice to insert them into, an hour, 2 hours a day, a couple hours a week kind of thing. Or maybe it's somebody who is like, oh God, I would love to take my kids to Disney next year, or a trip to Paris, or whatever the goal is. It'd be nice to have a job where I save up some money. We just bank the paycheck to pay for the vacation, or travel, basketball for the kids or something. I don't know. They are everywhere. It's just finding them that is the problem. And so that's where you have to decide, is it worth, so if you're able to bill your clients $200 an hour for the work you do, you need to decide, where do you best spend your time? Is it learning SEO? Probably not. It's worth at that point finding somebody to do that to do the SEO, or to triage your inbox. Okay, because you can pay that person 20, $30 an hour, as opposed to, and I don't know that those are valid rates, but I'm just trying for illustration purposes. If you can if you can pay somebody 20 to $30 an hour to do work for you, that frees up your time to let you bill a client $200. That's a net win. Okay. So, and yes, it will take time to train a person and teach them what you need done. I use a service called Loom, which I'm able to record videos. That's how I'm recording this podcast. I find that invaluable with me and my VA, because I'm able to then go in and record and show her on my screen the things that I need done and how I've done it in the past. And it's not to tell her that's how she has to do it, but just how it's worked for me, and then give her a start in the right direction to be able to go and do something. And then when she encounters a problem, she can screen record and she can say, hey, I'm looking at this. When I click on this, it doesn't work that way for me. I don't know how to fix this. So, but yeah, I don't know how else to get over that hurdle, but other than changing your mindset from, you're no longer a lawyer who works for somebody else, but you're now a firm owner. And that's where you need to start making decisions about how to best utilize your time for the best interest of the firm, which becomes by default in your best interest. Okay. But I'm going to link in the show. I'm pretty sure that I talked about this one of my first episodes, but I have a spreadsheet where you go in and track your time. So your task and time for 1 week, all the things that you do in 1 week for work. And then at the end of the week, you go through and it helps you analyze, okay, this I should give to somebody else. This I should give to somebody else. And then that helps you write a job description of what you need help with. And then it gives you also an idea of how much time you could save and how much time you need to hire somebody for to start working on. And honestly, I think if you put it out there that you're looking for help, I need somebody who can work 2 hours a day to triage my inbox, answer phone calls, return messages, post to Facebook. I think if you put that out there, you might get somebody who does 3 out of 4 things and you can teach them the 4th thing. Or worst case is they do those 3 things and you find one person that does the 4th thing. It's not that bad. I promise it's not that bad. But the first step is deciding what you need help with. And then the second part is then pushing it out there to people that you know. And what's going to happen is, the more you tell people, people will tell their friends, who tell their friends, who then somebody comes back to you and says, I am perfect for this. So definitely fair criticism. I get it. But I do think if you just, if you listen to this answer, hopefully that will give you a better direction on where I was heading with that entire podcast. So if you still need anything, if you have follow up, go ahead and let me know. You have my email. It's podcast@profitscalethrive.com. Thank you. Today's inspirational quote is from P.T. Barnum. No one ever made a difference by being like everyone else. So, final thoughts for this week. I hope I actually was excited for this podcast because I know if you're listening or reading, you didn't get to see it, but I was able to bring out my whiteboard. I've had it for a while now, and at first I didn't use it because I got it for free. It was points from, I don't know, Staples or Office Max or something. I don't remember, but somehow I got it for free, and it stands and has wheels on it and it's double sided. But I was excited to be able to use my whiteboard to be able to draw out and show you what I was talking about. Let me know what you think of that. Let me know if did it make sense? So last week we were talking about taking one piece of content, using it 20 different ways, and then even over a period of time. So you get a lot of mileage out of one piece of content. But does it make sense putting together a strategy? Because then that strategy helps you. It's even less decisions every week or however often you're going to post new content. That's less decisions that are already made when you have a strategy. Think of it as a formula. When this happens, then this happens. So if then, right? So that's how my strategy, and this is like my third or fourth iteration of this. And you'll know what does not work for you. I at one point was trying to do YouTube lives, and inevitably something would happen every YouTube live. So, and I deleted some of them because they were kind of so not good. But I did leave some of the YouTube lives out there. They're on my YouTube channel, but it just wasn't working for me. Now, granted, I probably let it go on longer than it should have. And that's when I finally said, wait a minute, why don't I do a podcast? Because I can record one video. I have the opportunity that I can shut off the phone and the email and, lock myself in my office, and I can record content. And if I don't like it, I delete it. Or I can edit if I need to, although I don't edit very much. Usually it's hit the green light and go, record. But I just had better control. So kudos for those who go live on, whatever video, social media, or YouTube, whatever. Because I just can't. I have a hard time with it. But so that just doesn't work for me. So, but regardless of whether you're going to do a podcast or a video or a blog, whatever your thing is, just take pen and paper out and start and map out that one piece of content. Where is it going to go? How often? What days gets what pieces to promote that piece of content? And then now you have a pattern, a formula, if you will, and it's easier to delegate that because now you have a repeatable process over and over and over. And that's the key to it, is that each time you change the content, but you have a repeatable process, and it makes it easier for you to delegate or outsource that work to somebody else. So let me know what you think about it. And before I sign off for today, just a reminder that for those of you who know me, you have an opportunity to get my newly published book for free. It's called Stop Struggling and Start Thriving, A Guide to Transform Your Law Firm. I will leave a link in the podcast notes, and the link, you can get a PDF copy for free. If you would like the Kindle or paperback version, those are available for purchase on Amazon. So, but I am giving you the PDF version for free. It's the exact same book. But if you want it on Kindle or paperback, you'd have to purchase that through Amazon. If you have any questions about today's episode, please feel free to comment if you're watching on YouTube, or send me an email to podcast@profitscalethrive.com. And if you know someone who might need to hear this information, please share this episode with them. Or if you're on YouTube, tag them below. Be sure to follow and subscribe to get notifications for future episodes. And did you enjoy this episode? Please consider leaving a review. And before I go, remember, profit is something you intentionally plan for in the beginning. It is not a potential bonus at the end of the year. Thanks, and have an amazing day.